Tesla. An extraordinary swing back for Elon Musk's car company, but it's also been rallying all the SpaceX stuff too. Maybe it's just Elon's magic. Let's bring in Dan Ives, who's had some magic as well, joining us with the upgrade on the price target today. Dan, you had $800 before, and you pumped it up today, saying basically that this is where the company belongs with all the demand coming out of China.
China's worth $300 incremental to the story. And I think right now, fundamentally, that's really what's driving the stock higher. I mean, they could be on 100, potentially even 125K run rate out of China and from a delivery perspective. Then you look at Giga 3 in terms of production. This is all the drum roll to battery day. And I think later this month, you put it all together. I mean, you're talking about Musk and Tesla got through the storm, but now on the rebound, you're really starting to see the stock. You know, I think it's just sixth inning. I mean, I bull case $1,500 price target.
So the incremental 300, is that, just to be clear, is that the one that brought you up from 8 to 1,000? Or are you saying if it's clear this is going to take place, you go from 1,000 to 13?
Well, I think China is the incremental there in terms of that's what's getting you to 1,000. You start to look at battery day, they come out with a 1,000,000-mile battery, and then demand starts to at least thaw a bit in terms of some improvement that we could see out of Europe and potentially US. Put that all together. I mean, this is one where instead of, we'll show the street right now looking for 400,000 deliveries, that could be closer to 450. So I think that's really the key here is that, you know, a lot of questions from investors, you know, why is stock continue to move higher? And you kind of hit on your last segment. It's the EV market, 3% penetrated. Tesla continues to sort of be, I think, just in the early stage of that penetration story.
Dan, so I wanted to try and parse this out from just trying to follow the narrative of a stock versus the fundamentals. Obviously, it's impossible to know what's priced in, especially in a very high growth company that has that potential for a market penetration to broaden out the way you're describing here. But at $1,000 compared to the high that Tesla had in February, that it reached February 19th, that was when this economy was cranking. Pre-COVID crash, it was consumer spending, buying homes. Some of that has come back, but absolutely not all of it, and we don't really know how much. So is this stock price now factoring in even more forward expectations that Tesla has to live up to if the current reality is worse than it was in February?
Well, I think there's also a big change when you think about what's happened. It's really that profitability story. You look at the profitability that they hit in terms of that, you know, 1Q, that's really what changed the story a bit in terms of the profitability. You combine that, it's also about China, because China now really starting to show this rebound. That combined with the profitability, that's really the 1-2 punch to how you have a 4-digit stock.
So the current situation for how many cars they're selling, did the first quarter suggest that the rebound after the economic shutdown is going to be strong enough to put them in a better place than they were pre-coronavirus? I mean, are we going to see bigger deliveries, bigger sales coming up?
Look, just to put numbers around it, 550K is where the street was pre-COVID. Now it's 400K for the year in terms of deliveries. We're saying best case, you can maybe get back to 450K. So no doubt, COVID-19 dark storm, you've seen demand across the board be much more downtrodden. But now if you start to look at the levers, especially in China, the trajectory into 21, this really becomes what I'll call an economic snapback name. And I think that a lot of investors are sort of playing that theme. And if you look what's happening in Europe, across China, you know, and I think in some other geographies, that's really the key for Tesla, combined with the profitability, because that's really the key. You talk about earnings and fundamentally, I mean, this is really being valued. To put numbers around it, how quickly can they get to $20 to $25 earnings power? That's the key for the street.
Okay, what's the risk? What will you be looking for? Is it just earnings by earnings? Is it announcement by announcement to see if there's any surprise in this narrative? Are there any supply chain problems? I mean, is there anything that's going to catch investors by surprise?
Yeah, so let's go through some of the risks. Any issues with production out of China and even potentially on Model Y, because that's obviously going to be a big demand driver. Two, battery day, they continue to push that out, and maybe they don't announce a 1,000,000-mile battery, which I do believe they do announce, but that would be a risk. And third really comes down to right now being priced in much more of a snapback, especially with China key. Any sort of issue there, that would be what I would view as the risk here.
Okay. Elon and the SpaceX success, you don't think he's getting too distracted?
It's the Teflon man right now. I mean, if
I
he,
thought it was iron.
it's a lot of things. And look, I think fundamentally, but even when you look at SpaceX, I think there's a big question: has Tesla's stock reflected any of that news? I think it has a bit, just because it just furthers the perception and the brand of Tesla, along with SpaceX, because obviously Musk's the core DNA there. And I think it just shows right now that this is a company from a brand, from an EV perspective in terms of everything they're doing. I think it's not just significant, but I think it all is the drum roll to what I believe in terms of, from a battery enhancement perspective, the 1,000,000-mile battery, that will be a crowning achievement for Musk and Tesla.
Yeah. Okay. Dan, is there any potential for problems as far as EV credits go? Any regulatory problems in China?
Not necessarily in China. U.S., obviously, the credit issue. China, the key thing is, can they continue to cut prices? Will that spur demand? And just like I said, a big part of the fundamental story is China. Obviously, increasing competition there, but it all comes down to that trajectory. You looked at 11, 12K for May. Could that be 14, 15K for June? You start to get into a trajectory that's much better than any the street, even the bulls, would have hoped for to see in China in terms of such a quick snapback.
Yeah. Dan, really good conversation. Always helping us figure out.
Thanks for having me.
Company that moves fast. Thanks a lot. Dan Ives joining us from Wedbush. And the price target now $1,000, where it is today.